Hey everybody, welcome to GMG Review. I'm Ash, and today I'm taking a look at Monsters and Mercenaries from Games Workshop. This is an expansion for their new tabletop kitchen table game, Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry, and adds just like a whole pile of new stuff. It's a pretty trim book at 64 pages with about 44 being dedicated to rules, but packed in there, heaps of new profiles, 4 new quest lines that can be done by anyone. These quests are open-ended to any warband, which is pretty cool. And then a new type of encounter called like a challenge encounter, where you go fight a big monster or some type of crazy warband, and they all have really neat, cool rewards that you can go and do. So it's a bit like a raid in like an MMO, where you go and fight a big boss and maybe get some cool loot. One player takes the form of their warband, the player takes the form of whatever the defenders or like the raid monster is that you have to go and fight. And it's a kind of neat addition. So let's just jump into it. I'm gonna horrify everybody once again. This is happening. I just deal with it. You don't get to see this if I don't do it. and take a look at the contents and stuff. So the first 20 pages or so are just describing Warcry and all of the things that are going into Warcry right now, as long as, in addition to some backgroundy bits. So in the Land of Beasts and Blades, we have like some stuff about the realm of Gur, and all the terrible things that happen in the savannah. There are all the giant monsters. That monster's actually dead, and if you look, there's like a city built around it of like folks kind of like crawling inside and eating his guts and doing all kinds of fun stuff like that. Mastering the monster. There's more stuff about the Bloodwind Spoil and some like pictures of the monsters here. The Savage Beasts. That guy had a bad end. Things did not go well for him. These are pretty glossy. It's kind of hard to get this on camera properly, so I'm gonna try and do this so that you guys can see it. Karngrad, which is like a crazy city in the Bloodwind Spoil, and then stuff about the different characters who are available for hire. So up here you can see like the Dark Oath War Queens, the Knights Questor. This is mostly just background stuff, Beasts of Glory, you know, fighting monsters for glory, basically doing raids and going and fighting big dudes. And then just a color section on all of the models that are now available. Now, if you want a whole list of the models that are available, you can actually, if you go, I think if you go sort Warcry, there's like a sort button now on the web store where you can actually see like all of the monsters that you can buy. But it's everybody from like the War Queen, the Chieftain, the Chaos Sorcerer. We're gonna go through all these later. Lord of Blight, Skullgrinder, Magister. If it's got a Chaos tag and it's a hero, basically you can ally it to any of the 8 Chaos Warbands now. So the 6 that are currently available plus the 2 new ones, all of them have access to all the Chaos heroes. You can also take 3 different new Chaos monsters as Thralls, Beasts rather, as Thralls, and then a bunch of Chaos monsters can be included in like open play games. They can't be included in match play games, and occasionally in narrative games, but you gotta defeat them to get them on your roster first. So if you go and do one of these raids and fight a monster and beat it, then you can have it in your warband. Good guys get access to folks like the Lord Veritas, the Knight Questor, the Knight Heralder, the Tidecaster, Soul Render, and Soul Scryer. So lots of cool stuff for the good guys as well. And then of course Destruction and Death, things like the Necromancer, the White King, the Lord Executioner, the Banshee, the Loon Boss, Shrewmancers, like I think the whole Gobblepalooza's in there, the War Chanter, big bosses. And then just another overview of rune marks, and so the things that they get. So monster factions, like you have a destruction monster, an order monster, a death monster. Allies have this little like colliery symbol, so anyone who's an ally that you can take, basically everybody in this book that's able to be allied in as a hero. Then Ferocious Frenzied Priest and Terrifying are new tags as well. Then your factions, Beasts of Chaos, Bone Splitters, Daughters of Cain, Everchosen, Flesh Eater Courts, sorry. The Everchosen are actually in here as like a warband for one of the raids, which is kind of cool because I feel like they might be a warband in the future. Flesh Eater Courts, Gloomspite Gits, Ident Deepkin, Ironjaws, Legions of Nagash, Night Haunts, Stormcast, Vanguard, and Stormcast Warrior Chamber. So yay, Warrior Stormcast, maybe in the future as a card pack. We're getting kind of a look at things that might be future card packs that we're going to see. So the Warrior Chamber, the Stormcast Warrior Chamber would be new there. The Beasts of Chaos would be new. The Everchosen would be new. And I'm assuming those are the 4 new ones that we're going to see coming out soon. Probably to coincide, I would imagine when they release the last 2 Chaos Warbands, that's when we'll see those 4 other warbands come out too. So if you're excited about any of those things, Beasts of Chaos, the Stormcast Warrior Chamber, like the regular Stormcast, and then the Everchosen and the, what was the other one? No, is it 1, 2, 3? Yeah, that's it. I think that's all there is. Everchosen, Stormcast, and Beast of Chaos. then you'll have something cool and new, hopefully, that you can play. So Monsters and Mercenaries, what's in here? Fated quests. So this section contains 4 campaign quests that can be embarked upon by any warband. Challenge battles. This section introduces a new type of campaign battle where your warband is thrust into a deadly encounter and they must overcome it to reap the spoils. This is basically the raid missions, so you can go and like fight monsters and big bad guys. Thralls and monsters. You get 3 new chaotic beast thralls and 8 new monsters, along with the rules to use them in your Warcry games. Allies. So here you will find the rules for how to include allies in your warband. This section contains fighters and ability cards for a host of allies, includes options for warbands of all factions, and then a new warband roster that is a bit easier to navigate because it lets you put 20 models down, which is handy. So fated quests. The paths are open to any who dare. Fated quests do not have a faction rune mark. Instead, you can choose one faction rune mark to apply to a fated quest. This means it can be embarked upon by any faction. In addition, individual fated quests do not have their own territory rules. Instead, the territory rules opposite are used. So you get the fated quest territory rule that everybody has applied to them basically for all the fated quests. And it's dominate territory. You can spend 10 glory points to dominate a territory. Mark on your warband roster how many territories you dominate. Dominating territory offers the following bonuses. So growing power, you get 50 extra points to your warband muster. Thralls, you can have an additional thrall. And when mustering your thralls, you can have one for every territory you've conquered. Thralls included in the manor are not added to the warband roster, blah, blah. Honor or glory. The campaign outcome is fated quests different from those in the core rulebook. When completed a fated quest, you may make a choice between honor or glory. If you choose glory, you'll get an artifact power. If you choose honor, your reward will be an exalted command trait. So exalted command traits represent qualities so strong they come to define a warrior for the rest of their life. The first time you receive an exalted command trait, this must be given to your leader and replaces any existing command trait that they have. Once your leader's been given an exalted command trait, any future exalted command traits received or discarded. Exalted command traits can never be given to a favorite warrior. So you're going to want to do this once per warband, basically, to get the one you want. And here's the first one. It's the Hunt for the Doomblade. And what's interesting is this one actually requires you to have the Storm Vault terrain. So the first 2 missions, you can play with the terrain of the starter set. But if you want to play the last one, you need the big Storm Vault. And the honor, you're going to get a... Sorry, I'm not going to spoil these because there's actually a page flip to see what you get. So honor and glory, you get a page flip. Obviously, the Hunt for the Doomblade, you get the Doomblade if you take an artifact. The Crown of Davenok, and this one again requires you have the Sepulcher for the 3rd mission. So there is kind of a tie-in to these quests. They require that you have one of the extra battle boards and terrain kits to do them, which isn't, I mean, you don't have to. If you want to use the ones that are in the mission, if you want to do it as described basically, then you're going to have to go and buy those kits. But you don't have to. You could just do it as close as you can. Lords of the Arena, I like this one because you fight in the pit of the Myrmidons. And then again, it uses the Dusty Roads one, the one with, it's sort of like a it's the Azerite Ruins, which might be new actually. I'm not sure which of these are already out. I think the Azerite Ruins one might be new. We'll see. And then over here we have this one that anyone can do because it's just use the star set stuff. Slaves and Masters. For getting slaves and masters. You're either trying to free them or trying to kill them. And then this is the spoils of victory. I'm not going to spoil it because obviously it's all kinds of cool artifacts, and if you want to keep it a surprise, then I'm not going to spoil it all in this book. But it's all cool stuff and cool command traits, and they're very powerful. Challenge battles. So challenge battles, this is your raid missions basically. This section introduces a new type of battle called a challenge battle. They're unique battles available to any warband currently embarked on a campaign quest. You're going to see 7 that people can embark on. How to play a challenge battle. If players agree, one player referred to as the challenger is attempting to overcome the challenge they've been set. This becomes the challenger warband. The other player is referred to as the adversary. Rather than controlling their own warband, the adversary player instead controls fighters that are referred to as adversaries. First, decide which challenge battle you will play, which player will be the challenger, and which one will be the adversary. Then you follow the 4 sections, set up special rules, battle plan, and spoils. So just like a normal mission. So the adversary's player will have a unique pool of fighters to choose from in each challenge battle. This may be a single large monster or a group of fighters using fighter cards from existing factions. In either case, the fighter who is the adversary player controls, they're never drawn from the warband roster, even if they have the same fighter cards used. So you're not using your warband, you're always using something that's drawn from the scenario. Adversaries do not have any destiny levels, artifacts, or command traits unless it's specifically stated otherwise. In the aftermath sequence, the adversary player doesn't have to make any rolls because they're Goombas, they're raid minions. Don't worry about them. They're just gonna die. Then there's the prerequisite and the stakes. So you can't just go and do these. You have to be powerful enough to embark on them. Every challenge battle has a prerequisite and a stake. The prerequisite's the number of required dominated territories that you must have. If the Challenger Warband does not have the prerequisite, you can't play that battle. If the Challenger Warband loses the challenge battle, they immediately lose a number of dominated territories equal to the stake. This is the repercussions the Warband face in the wake of their failure and the time they have to spend recuperating their resources. There can be special rules, then your battle plan, and the spoils. Each challenge battle has one or more spoils. If the challenger wins the challenge battle, they receive one of the spoils of that challenge battle. If there are more than one spoils available, the players must pick which to receive. Some spoils will let you add the monster adversary to your warband roster. If you choose this spoil, use the rules on page 46. And now you can use a monster as a thrall. The aftermath sequence, after each challenge battle, resolve the aftermath sequence. Players do not receive glory points. Injury rolls and destiny rolls are not made for adversaries. Neither player advances their campaign progress tracker, and note that both players can make one search roll in the lesser artifact table as normal. So the prize basically for being your adversary in this is you do get an extra artifact basically for your warband, because you kind of miss a game, but you don't really miss a game. Once you achieve victory in the challenge battle, you can record your achievement by checking the appropriate box in your warband roster, and that's again why there's a new roster here. You can play through the same challenge battle as many times as you wish, even if you've already achieved it. Note that certain spells and artifacts power are limited to one per warband roster. And then there's all your narrative stuff here. And so, yeah, here we go. Lair of the Trifold Beast. You're going to fight a Chimera. Colossal Carnage. You're going to fight like a Gargan, a Gorgon, or a Sigor. Scuttlers in the Dark. I'll probably do this one with Owen. You're fighting a Skitterstrand and a Ragnarok. The Menagerie of Horrors, where there's a Terrorgeist or a Zombie Dragon. The Trial of the Serpents, a War Hydra, a Charybdis. And then Into the Jaws of Death. This one's neat. You got to stake 4 territories to do it, and you lose 2 if you lose. The challenger and adversary player must each muster a warband as described in the core rules. The fighters in the adversary warband must be of Chaotic Beast rune mark of 1,500 point or less value, and each warband can include up to 20 fighters. So you get to take a 1,500 point warband, and both players can take up to 20 fighters. And yeah, you get a huge horde of basically Chaos Beasts that you have to fight against. And this is the neat one, because I'm pretty sure this is one of the new warbands, the Everchosen. And it's Hand of the Everchosen. You're going to fight against basically a Chaos Lord and his retinue of Chaos Warriors. And these guys are baller. They're pretty much Stormcast Eternals. They're a little bit less tougher for like the Chaos Warriors with Chaos Rune Shields. But you can take over Vanguard. Holy shit. He's 385 points. 385 points. He's movement 6, toughness 8 with 40 wounds. And he has a range attack of 1. He's 6 attacks at strength 6 at 510 damage. The Vanguard is insane. Like, holy shit. You can take Chaos Warriors with Chaos Rune Shields, and you can take 2,000 points with the fighters here. Chaos Warriors with Chaos Rune Shields, 170 points. And then, yeah, they are movement 6, toughness 4, 15 wounds. I mean, 1 inch range with 3 attacks, strength 4, 2-5. I mean, 2-5 base damage for a Goomba is awesome. And then 2 hand weapons, they just up their attacks. Same defensive stats, a little bit slower to move, but 4 attacks, strength 4, 2-5. And then you can take an Aspiring Champion. He's 220, move 5, defense 4, 25 wounds, and then he's 2-6. With 5 attacks at strength 4. Chaos Chosen, 18 wounds, 180 points, toughness 4 and 5 inch move. He's 2-6 damage with 4 attacks at strength 5. And an Exalted Champion, Chaos Chosen Exalted Champion, 28 wounds, toughness 4, and then 5 attacks at strength 5, 3, 6. So like these guys hit like trucks. If they are a warband in the future, man, they might be the toughest warband in the game. Their defensive stats aren't quite as high as the like Liberators and stuff like that. The Vanguard Hunters, but yeah, they're individually terrifying and not that expensive. Thralls and monsters. Okay, on the opposite page, you're going to find 3 new types of Thrall. Each of these fighters has the Chaotic Beast rune mark and the Thrall rune mark. These fighters can be used by any of the warbands in the core rulebook. And then monsters who all have the Gargantuan rune mark. They have special rules, so deploying monsters, they're wholly placed within 5 inches horizontally of the deployment zone instead of 3 because they have huge bases. They can never carry treasure because they don't care about it. And then activating monsters. So now this is interesting because a monster, you can use a monster in a normal game as a beast. So if you have like a bunch of like chaotic beasts show up, you can deploy a monster instead as like the random monster on the table. And they activate 3 times in a battle round instead of once, but each time they do, they only make 1 action. Each time a monster is activated, you can also use an ability before or after its action. So there's monster hunting abilities and monster abilities. If there's a monster on a table, you all get to use these abilities against them, and then they get to make these abilities. Move actions with monsters. A monster can climb and jump like other fighters. However, it's not if at the end of its move, its base is not wholly on a platform on the battlefield floor, it automatically counts as fallen. If a monster is said to have fallen, any part of the model's base can be placed in the point picked instead of just the center. Because if they're huge, if they're just hanging off of something, you'd need to move them way far basically to make them fall off. And then yeah, monster hunting abilities. If any monsters are in play, all fighters except monsters themselves and fighters with the beast rune mark get the monster hunting abilities over here. And they are binding ropes for a double. Pick an enemy fighter with the gargantuan rune mark within 1 inch and roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. For each 4+, subtract 1 from its move because you start trying to net the thing. Double, dodge, and evade until the end of the battle round. Add the value of this ability to the toughness characteristic of this fighter when it's being targeted by the monster. Double, jump on its back. Pick an enemy fighter with the gargantuan rune mark. Until the end of the battle round, the fighter can, if that fighter starts a move action within 1 inch, then after the move action, you can remove this fighter from the battlefield and set them up within 1 inch of that fighter, because basically you just jump over them. Triple, go for the eye. If the next attack action made by this fighter, this activation that targets an enemy fighter with the gargantuan rune mark scores any critical hits, subtract 1 from the attack characteristic to a minimum of 1 of attack actions made by that fighter until the end of the battle. And then triple, gutting strike. Add the value of this ability, the damage points allocated by each critical hit from the attack made by this fighter, this activation that have a range of 3 or less against someone with the gargantuan rune mark. So like if you get a 666 or 555, holy crap, do 10 damage. And then quad is taunt. Pick an enemy fighter with the gargantuan rune mark that's within 6 inches of this fighter and roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. And if it's a 4+, so if a 4+ is rolled on any of the dice until the end of the battle round or until this fighter's taken down, attack actions made by that target must target this fighter. So you can taunt them and make them come after you. And then the monster universal abilities can be used. You get double monstrous reach until the end of this fighter's activation. Don't count vertical distance when measuring. That's good because it would be really hard for some people to attack people on ledges and you don't want them to not be able to do anything for a turn. Triple Dragon Maul. Pick an enemy fighter within 6 inches of this fighter. Remove that fighter from the battlefield and set them up within 1 inch of this fighter. Then roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. For each 4+, allocate 3 damage points. So if you get like a 666, you just go like potentially 9 damage on average rolls and up to 18 damage. And then quad demolishing rampage. Pick a terrain feature within 1 inch of this fighter in an order of your choice. Place each objective, treasure token, and fighter that's on that terrain feature and any other terrain feature that any other terrain feature that's on that terrain feature on the battlefield floor in a location of your choice as close as possible horizontally to its current position. And then in order of your choice, each fighter placed in the battlefield in this manner suffers impact damage. Then remove the terrain, because he just demolishes the terrain feature, which is pretty cool. Using monsters in your battles. Twist cards, monsters with the Chaotic Beast rune mark can be used in any twist card that brings Chaotic Beast into play. So you can bring a monster in instead of like a beast. Including monsters in your warband. Every monster has a faction rune mark, so Chaotic Beast, Monsters of Order, Monsters of Death, or Monsters of Destruction. Consult the monster allegiance table opposite to see if you can take one in your faction. Additionally, basically they become, if you do the challenge to get them, you can put them in your army. In open play, you can always include one monster. In narrative play, you need to do the appropriate challenge. In match play, it's only if opponents agree. And then yeah, all the rune marks. So you get, it's funny because the Vanguard can't get these apparently. It's the Daughters of Cain, the Idnith, and the Stormcast Hammers of Sigmar can take the Order Beasts. The Flesh Eater Courts, Legions of Nagash, and whoever that was. Did I not look that up? Let's go back to the beginning. Who was that? Night Haunts, Legions of Nagash, and who did I miss? Flesh Eater Courts. That's right. They can have the Undead Beasts, and then it's Gloomspite Gits, Bone Splitters, and Ironjaws can take the Destruction Beasts. And then the regular Beasts can go to any Chaos faction. And then we have 3 new Chaotic Beasts. So these are basically added to the Murder Turkeys and the Furies that are in the box set. And it's a Razorgore, a Chaos Spawn, and a Warhound. Now the Razorgore, he's pretty cool. He's got 25 wounds at toughness 4 with an 8-inch move. And he's got 4 attack, strength 4 at 2/5 with a 1-inch range. Pretty awesome. The Spawn's 175 points. He has 30 wounds at toughness 4 with a 5-inch move. And then he has a 2/4 damage, strength 4, 4 attacks. They all seem to have roughly the same damage. And then Chaos Warbands are only 70, 10 wounds, movement 8, toughness 3, 1/3 damage with 3 attacks at strength 3. Now they each have their own unique ability too. So the Spawn can do the One's from the regular Chaos Beast table, so the ones that are on the universal card, basically, that's in the core game. So not the spawn, the Razor Gore can do the ones that are on the core game. And also, Uncontrollable Stampede on a triple. Until the end of this fighter's activation, the next time this fighter finishes a move within 1 inch of the enemy, pick an enemy fighter within 1 inch, allocate number of damage points equal to the value of this ability. So he basically has the Ogre, the Wall Breaker or whatever, Crushing Charge. The Spawn can do Writhing Tentacles, add the value of this ability to the attack's characteristic of the next attack made by this fighter. This activation with a range of 3 or less. So you could have 10 attacks potentially if you have a good triple. And the Chaos Warhound gets the basic beast ones plus Outrunner of Chaos. Add half the value of this ability rounding up to the move characteristic of this fighter for the next move action they make. So you could be move 11 basically. It would be super fast if you want to go take a territory or something, or take an objective. And then here we go, the big boys. We got the Chaos Gargan. He's 305 points. 50 wounds, toughness 4, move. Now they have damage tables just like monsters do in AOS, which I find really interesting. So you have the basically attrition on their stats. He has the Gargantuan tag and then this crazy brute tag. He has 2 inch range, 4 attacks at strength 5. And then when he's got 0 damage points, he's move 6 and 4/8 damage. 11 to 21, move 5 and 4/6. 21 to 30, move 4 and 3/6. 31 to 40, move 3 and 3/4. And then at 41 to 49 damage points, he's move 2 with 2/4 damage. So the attrition's pretty fast. He can do a Drunken Stagger, roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. For each 1 or 2, subtract 1 from this ability's move characteristic. For every 3+, add 1 to their move characteristic until the end of the fighter's activation. So basically, it balances out. Like, you might get faster for a lot of 3+. You get an inch or 2 of extra movement. He can do a Mighty Kick until the end of this fighter's activation for a triple. The next time this fighter finishes a move within 1 inch of the enemy fighter, pick a visible enemy fighter within 1 inch, allocate number of damage points to that fighter equal to the value of this ability. And then Vicious Headbutt on a quad, pick a visible enemy fighter within 1 inch and roll a number of dice equal to the ability. For each 4+, allocate a number of damage points to that fighter equal to this ability. So if you get like a quad 6 or a quad 5, that's a lot of damage. You can do like 20 to 24 damage. Actually, you could do 36 damage if you got really, really lucky. 32 damage. Yeah, 32. No, 36, yeah. Gorgon, he's 330 points, 50 wounds, toughness 4. Again, alternating stats, 2 inch range, strength 5, attacks 5, strength 6. And then he's at first bracket, 0 to 10, he's move 6, 4, 10 damage. At 11 to 20, he's move 5, 4, 8 damage. At 21 to 30, he's move 4, 3, 8 damage. At 31 to 40, he's move 3, and then 3, 6 damage. And then at 41 to 49, he's move 2, 2, 6 damage. So he's a bit harder hitting than the Gargan is. And then his abilities are double for Roaring Charge. Add half the value of this ability to the move characteristic and for their next move action. Triple is Slavering Maw. Place a visible enemy fighter within 1 inch of this model and roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. For each 3+, allocate 3 damage points. Oh, jeez. And then quad is Ravenous Bloodgreed. This fighter makes a bonus move action, a number of inches equal to the value of this ability. Then this fighter can make a bonus attack action. Sigor, he's 295 points, 50 wounds, toughness 4. He's 2 inch reach with strength 4 and 4 attacks. And then he is move 6, 4, 8 at top bracket. If they're 50 wounds, the brackets are all the same. Move 5, 4, 6, and then a move 4, 3, 6, move 3, 3, 4, and then move 2, 2, 4 at the bottom bracket. He has a double for Rip and Tear Masonry. This fighter can use his ability only if there's within 1 inch of an obstacle. If this fighter is empty-handed, see below, they are no longer empty-handed. And then Hurl Boulder. What does empty-handed mean? Is empty-handed like a thing later? Nope. Oh, I see. A triple Hurl Boulder. This fighter can use his ability only if they are not empty-handed. See below. So you have to spend a double, then a triple. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 15 and roll a number of dice equal to this ability. For each 4+, allocate 5 damage points to the fighter after using this to become empty-handed. So you need to spend the double to rip a piece of masonry off and then a triple to throw it, but the triple could do like a bonkers amount of damage. Quad Soul Eater, roll a dice for each enemy fighter within 6 inches of this fighter, and a 4+, allocate 3 damage points to the fighter after being rolled for and remove 3 damage points from this fighter. The Skritter Strand Arachnarok, he's 355 points. He is 55 wounds. Wow, he's the only one who's got a different wound table. Strength or toughness 4 still. He is 1 inch range, 6 attacks at strength 5. So he actually hits a bit harder than the Sigmar does. And then for his stats, at 0 to 10, he's move 8, 5, 8. At 11 to 20, he's move 7, 4, 7. At 21 to 30, he's move 6, 3, 6. At 31 to 40, he's move 5, 2, 4. And then at 41 to 54, he's move 4 and 1, 2. So he gets really weak at the end. And then it's double wall crawler. Until the end of the fighter's activation, don't count vertical distance when this fighter's climbing. Triple paralyzing venom until the end of this fighter's activation. After each attack dice is made by this fighter, roll a die on a 2+ until the end of the battle round. The target of the attack action cannot make move or disengage actions. And then a quad dragged victim. Pick an enemy fighter within 1 inch of this fighter, remove that fighter from the battlefield and set them up within 1 inch of this fighter. Then the fighter makes a bonus attack action. He just like jumps, he she-lobs them. And yeah, there's 4 more. War Hydra. So these are the 2 order monsters. It's the War Hydra and the Charybdis, which I find interesting that like those are our options for monsters in this. We've got 345 points, man. 50 wounds, toughness 4, and it is 2 inch range, strength 6 attacks, strength 5. 0 to 10, move 6, and damage 5, 10. 11 to 20, move 5, 4, 8. 21 to 30, move 4, 3, 6. And then 31 to 40, move 3, 2, 4. 41 to 49, move 2 and 1, 2. The War Hydra ability is at a double, quick with the lash. At half the move of this ability, rounding up to the move characteristic of this fighter for the next move action, they make this activation. Triple fiery breath, pick a visible enemy fighter within 6 inches of this fighter and roll a dice for that fighter and each other fighter within 3 of the fighter. On a 3+, allocate a number of damage points to the fighter equal to the value of the ability. Quad, sever one head, another takes its place. Remove a number of damage points allocated to this fighter equal to double the value of this ability. And then, that's awesome. And then in the Charybdis, 345, toughness 4 and 50 wounds. It is 2 inch range, strength 6, damage 5, damage points, or sorry, damage table. 0 to 10, move 6, 5, 10. Just 5, 10 damage, oh my god. All of these things are horrifying. 11 to 20, move 5 and 4, 8. 21 to 30, move 4, 3, 6. 31 to 40, move 3, 2, 4. And then 41 to 49, move 2 and 1, 2 damage. It also has Quick the Lash, same as the other one. Has the Abyssal Howl. Roll is the triple. Roll a die for each enemy fighter within a number of inches equal to the value of this ability. On a 3+ until the end of the battle round, they cannot make move actions or disengage actions. And then Quad Spiked Tail. Allocate a number of damage points to all visible enemy fighters within 3 inches of this fighter equal to the value of this ability. It just like whips its tail around and like goes bonkers. The Terrorgeist, 350 points. Jeez, these things are expensive. 50 wounds, toughness 4, 2 inch range, 4 attacks and strength 5. 0 to 10, it's move 12 and 4, 8 damage. 11 to 20, it's move 10, 3, 6 damage. 21 to 30, it's move 8, 3, 6 damage. 31 to 40, it's move 6, 2, 4 damage. And at 41 to 49, it's move 4 and 1, 2 damage. On a double, it does a swooping dive at half the value of this ability, its move characteristic. It also has the fly keyword, by the way, which I think is the first time it's been in here. Triple Death Scream, roll 1 to for each visible enemy fighter within 8 inches of this fighter. On a 5, allocate 1 damage point to the fighter being rolled. On a 6, allocate a number of damage points equal to the value of this ability. Oh man. Infested with Bats on a quad, a fighter can only use this ability if 10 or more damage points have been allocated to them. Allocate a number of damage points to all visible fighters equal to the value of this ability. So basically bats just start pouring out of it and doing damage to people. Then the Zombie Dragon is 360 points. I think he's pretty close to the most expensive thing here. The Vanguard is still more expensive than all of these though. 50 wounds, it is toughness 4, has the fly keyword as well. 2 inch range, 5 attack, strength 5, and then at 0 to 10, it's move 12, 4, 8 damage. At 11 to 20, it's move 10, 3, 6 damage. At 21 to 30, it's move 8, 3, 6 damage. At 31 to 40, it's move 6, 2, 4 damage. And then at 41 to 49, it's move 4 and 1, 2. It has a swooping dive. Swooping dive, add half the value of this ability to its move characteristic. same as the Terrorgeist. And then triple sword-like claws, add half the value of this ability, rounding up to the attack characteristic of this next attack action made by this with a 3 or less, range of 3 or less. And then quad pestilent breath, pick a visible enemy fighter within 8 inches and roll a dice for that fighter and each other fighter within 3. On 2 to 5, allocate a number of damage points to the fighter being rolled equal to the value of this ability. On a 6, allocate a number of damage points to the fighter being rolled equal to double the value of this ability. And then allies. Let's talk about allies. So allies have this little colliery symbol. Every ally has a faction remark. Consult the ally deck basically to see where they can go. And then additionally, rules for including an ally in your warband may vary depending on the style of game you're playing. Open play and match play, you can always have one ally. Allied cost points just like anybody else, but are ignored for the purpose of the rule that requires all fighters to have the same rune mark. Narrative play, allies can be added to your warband roster while your warband is embarked on a quest. During the add and remove fighter step, you can add one ally to your warband for each area dominated in your warband roster. Allies not count towards the maximum number of fighters you can add to your warband roster. The warband roster on page 64 includes its own section. Once the number of allies in your warband roster is equal to the number of territories, you cannot add any more allies until you dominate or remove a new one. If you ever have fewer dominated territories than you have allies, during that you must remove allies until you have a number that's equal to your dominated territories. Like other fighters, allies can receive destiny levels, and players can make injury rolls for them. However, allies can never bear lesser artifacts or artifacts of power and can't be chosen to become a favored warrior. When mustering your campaign battle, you can include any number of allies in your warband. Allies cost points just like any other fighter. If your warband can include thralls, any allies you include in your warband do not decrease the number of thralls. You can include vice versa. So you can have thralls and allies, which is pretty great. Ally faction rune mark. The faction mark for ally fighter cards differ from the faction marks for other cards. Each has a halo incorporated into its design, which marks it as a faction remark upon which it's based. So for example, the Nighthunt ally faction remark has the halo on it, which means that they are allies. Allies cannot use the abilities listed on the ability card of your warband and vice versa. Allies cannot be included in your warband by any other means other than those outlined in this section. That means if you choose to fight a fated quest, you will not be able to choose a faction mark of a fighter card for an ally as the faction mark for that campaign quest. And here we go. So for all of the Chaos Warbands in the starter set, the ally faction rune mark can be Khorne, Nurgle, Vanguard, Beasts, Skaven, and Tzeentch. For the regular, not the Vanguard, interestingly, just the Warriors of Sigmar, and the Idoneth Deepkin and the Daughters of Cain, you can have the Warriors of Sigmar allies. So there's no Vanguard allies in here. The Idoneth allies or the Daughters of Cain allies. For the Legion of Gash, Fleshier Courts, and the Nighthaunts, they have their same allies, and then it goes the same for the Bone Splitters, the Ironjaws, and the Gloomspite Gits. So let's talk about Slaves to Darkness. So it looks like there are 4 Slaves to Darkness characters in here. The Dark Oath Chieftain is 185. He's got 25 wounds. He is toughness 4 and a move of 4. There is a 1-inch range, strength 5, with 5 attacks and 2/5 damage. The Dark Oath War Queen is 195 points, actually toughness 5 compared to the Chieftain, move 4 and 25 wounds, with a 1-inch range, 4 attacks, strength 5, 2/5. So the War Queen looks like the tougher option of the two. And they both have the Brute key mark, it looks like. Chaos Sorcerer Lord's 165 at 25 wounds, toughness 4 and a 4-inch move. Has a Sorcerer's Blast ability at 3 to 7-inch range, 2 attacks at strength 3 with 3/6 damage. So low strength, but like tons of damage. And then a 2-inch range staff with 3 attacks at strength 4, 1/4. And then finally the Chaos Lord, the Lord of Chaos, 190 points, 25 wounds, toughness 4. Has the Brute key mark and also the crazy super key mark. There's the Mage key mark on the Sorcerer Lord too, which we'll talk about afterwards. And he is 2-inch range with his big glaive. 3 attacks, strength 5, 3/6 damage. So he's a pretty big beater. And then the War Queen, the Chaos Lord, and the Chieftain can all do Demon Blade on a double. The value of this ability, the strength characteristic of the next attack made by this fighter with an activation range. So this activation with a range of 3 or less. And then a double, the Chieftain, War Queen, and the boss can do it too. I don't know why. Oh, I guess, yeah, all 3 of them have it. The Will of the Gods, until the end of the battle round, add 1 to the move characteristic. for each of friendly fighters within 6 inches of this fighter at the start of their activation, so you can speed people up. The Sorcerer Lord gets Demonic Power. Pick a visible friendly fighter within 8 inches of the fighter. Until the end of the battle round, add one of the strength and attack characteristics of the next attack action made by that fighter with a range of 3 or less. And he just hulks out with demon juice. And then a double for Death Blow. These are all doubles, which means they're easy to pull off. And Death Blow is available to... Wait. Oh, the Chieftain gets Death Blow. Sorry, the Chieftain doesn't get Demon Blade. The War Queen, it's like slightly different. That's what I hate about these infographics. It's a slightly different rune mark. I thought this rune mark was this rune mark. But only he gets Death Blow. Add the value of this ability to the damage points allocated to enemy fighters for each hit and critical hit from the next attack action made by this fighter with a range of 3 or less. For a double, he can make his damage like 8-11 for Death Blow. That's amazing. And then we got Beasts of Chaos, which I imagine if they're getting faction cards if they've got a hero in here, an ally. Although you can ally this with the other Chaos factions too. You get a Bray Shaman, a Great Bray Shaman, 165 points, 25 wounds, toughness 4, 4-inch move. Has a Zap spell with a 3 to 7 inch range, 2 attacks, strength 3, 3/6 damage, exactly the same as the Chaos Sorcerer Lord. And then a staff at... Actually, he's exactly the same as the Chaos Sorcerer Lord. He's identical in every way. He just has a different spell. His stats are exactly the same. Yep. And his double stat is Devolve. Yeah, because his staff is 3 attacks, strength 4, 1/4. Yeah, exactly the same. Sorry. And then his ability is Devolve for a double. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 14 inches of this fighter. That fighter makes a bonus move action directly towards this fighter, as if they were jumping a number of inches equal to the value of this ability. So you can make enemy jump 6 inches towards you, basically, or jump off a ledge. Now there is a huge amount of Khorne Bloodbound on here, 6 of them. The Aspiring Deathbringer is 200 points. Has, I think it's the Brute Key Mark. Yeah, it's the Brute Key Mark, or key thing. And he's the only one that has it. He has 30 wounds, toughness 4, 4-inch move, 1-inch range, strength 5, toughness 5, or sorry, strength 5, 5 attacks, and 2 5 damage. And then his ability is, I'm just going to do the abilities at the same time as the people now, I think. His ability is Quad Slaughter Incarnate. Until the end of the battle round, add half the value of this ability to the damage points allocated to enemy fighters by each hit or critical hit, with a range of 3 or less, while that friendly fighter is within 8 inches of this fighter. So he basically adds damage to friends for a quad. So if you get a quality quad, all of the people within 8 of him get like crazy hitty all of a sudden, which is bananas. The Exalted Deathbringer is 200 points. He is 30 wounds, move 4, toughness 4. Has his big spear, which is 2-inch range, strength 3 attacks, strength 5, 3/6 damage. Just a lot of damage. And then his rune mark unlocks Skulls for the Skull Throne. A fighter can use the ability only if an enemy fighter has been taken down by an attack action made by this fighter. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 8 inches. That fighter can make a bonus move action. Then they make a bonus attack action. So for a triple, if he kills somebody, somebody else can go do something, which is pretty cool. The Exalted Deathbringer with Ruinous Axe has the same ability. And he's 200 points, 30 wounds, strength 4, or sorry, toughness 4 with 4-inch move. 1-inch range, 3 attacks, strength 6, 3/6 damage. The Skull Grinder, 190 points. And he, am I sure that that's the same ability? Yeah. He has the big Flail, and it is 3-inch range, 2 attacks, strength 5, 3/6 damage. He's 30 wounds, strength 4, toughness 4 again. And then he has a Fiery Anvil. Add the value of this ability to the strength characteristic of the next attack action made by this fighter with a range of 3 or less. So he gets to basically become strength like whatever triple you have. Maybe strength 8. Maybe he can kill the Vanguard. And then the Slaughter Priest, 210 points, 32 wounds at, I don't know why, just 2 extra wounds for some reason, at toughness 4 and 4-inch move. As a 1-inch range, this is the Bloodbathed Axe one, 3 attacks, strength 6, 3/6 damage. And then his ability, which is also shared by the one with the Hack Blade, is Blood Boil. He has 2 abilities actually. He has Blood Bind and Blood Boil. They're both triples. Blood Bind is pick a visible enemy fighter within 14 inches of this fighter. That fighter makes a bonus move action directly towards this fighter, as if they were jumping, a number of inches equal to the value of this ability. So it's the same thing as Devolve, except it's a triple instead of a double for some reason. I don't know. And then Blood Boil, picking a visible enemy fighter within 14 inches of this fighter and roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. For each 4+, allocate D3 damage points. And then the Slaughter Priest of the Wrath Hammer and Hackblade, it has the exact same abilities and is 32 wounds, toughness 4, 4-inch move. 1-inch range with his Hackblade and 4 attacks, strength 5, 2, 5. And then he gets to hit me with a Flail, which is 3-inch range, 2 attacks, strength 4, 1, 3 damage. And then everybody can Blood for the Blood God on a double. A fighter can use his ability only if an enemy fighter has been taken down by an attack action made this activation. The fighter makes a bonus move or bonus attack action. So they get a double, which is pretty awesome. It's like a lead by strength from the Iron Golems, but with a double instead of a triple. Disciples of Tzeentch. Looks like everybody's keywords. So one of them flies. The Magister has like no special abilities except for the Locus of Sorcery. Everybody else has a different one except for the Gaunt Summoners who have the same one. So the Magister, no extra keyword, 25 wounds, strength 4, sorry, defense 4, and movement 4, toughness 4. It's so weird to have stats laid out like this. Has a Sorcerer's Blast. It is, oh my god, his stats the same as the other wizard. It's 3/7, 2 attacks at strength 3, 3/6 damage. And then his melee attack isn't a staff though, so it's a 1-inch range with 3 attacks, strength 4, 2, 4 damage. And then he knows special abilities except for the double, which is Locus of Sorcery, which everyone can do. Add half the value of his ability to the next, rounding up to the strength characteristic of the next attack action with a range characteristic of 3 or more. So his zaps go up half the ability of the double. So you can become strength 6 basically with your zaps, which is pretty cool. The Zangor Shaman, 260 points, 25 wounds, movement 10, and then a 4 of toughness. It has the same zap as the Magister, 3-inch range, 3/7, sorry, 2 attacks, strength 3, 3/6 damage, and then a bite, which is 1-inch range, 4 attacks, strength 4, 2, 4 damage. He flies and can also, in addition to the Locus of Sorcery, do Visions of the Future. Pick a friendly fighter that's not yet activated this round and it's within 9 inches of the fighter. You can activate this fighter immediately after the activation of this fighter ends. So you can do a double activation. The Ogroid Thaumaturge, he is 35 wounds at toughness 4 with a 4-inch move. His zap is exactly the same, 3/7, 2 attack dice at strength 3, 3/6 damage. And then his melee attacks are 2-inch range, 3 attacks at strength 4, 2, 4 damage. And he has the Brutal Rage triple. A fighter can only use ability at 15 or more damage points have been allocated to them. Add half the value of this ability, rounding up to the strength characteristic of the next attack action with this fighter with a range of 3 or less. So he gets to Hulk out when he's injured. And then the Gaunt Summoner is 260 points. He has 30 wounds at toughness 10. And a, sorry, not toughness 10, movement 10 and toughness 4. Toughness 10, Jesus. He's 3 to 7 inch range with his blast. 2 attacks, strength 3, 3/6 damage. And then his bite is a 1-inch range, 4 attacks at strength 4, 2, 4 damage. His special ability, in addition to flying, is he can use a Warp Tongue Blade, and he has the same ability as the one on foot. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 1 inch of this fighter and roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. On a 2 to 5, allocate 1 damage point to the fighter being rolled for. On a 6, allocate a number of damage points equal to the value of this ability. So pretty cool stabs. And then on foot, he's 170 points, 25 wounds, movement 4, and toughness 4. Exact same fight stats, except his melee attack is 2-inch range with a staff. And then, so his shooting stats are the same. And then he has 3 attacks, strength 4 with 1/4 damage, because it's not the disc biting. We're looking at some Skaven now. We got a Grey Seer and a Claw Lord. The Grey Seer is 125 points, has the same magic zap everybody else gets, 3 to 7 inch range, 2 attacks, strength 3, 3/6 damage. He has 20 wounds, movement 5, and defensive 3, toughness 3. His melee attack is 2-inch range, 3 attacks, strength 3 with 1/4 damage. And then his special zappy ability is Consume Warpstone Token. Roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. For each roll of 1, allocate a damage point to the fighter. On a 4+, add 1 of the damage points allocated by hits and critical hits for your Sorcerer's Zap, basically. So that's pretty cool. A double 6, you could potentially be damage 9, 12 with your zaps, but still only strength 3. And then your Claw Lord's 140 points, 22 wounds, movement 5, defense 3. He is, or sorry, toughness 3. He is 1-inch range, 5 attacks, strength 4, 2, 5 damage. And then he has an ability called Strike and Scurry Away. This fighter makes a bonus attack action, then a bonus disengage action. He has the same darting attack that the Gryph-hounds have for the Stormcast of Vanguard. The Maggotkin of Nurgle They are 190 points for a Lord of Plagues. He's 35 wounds, toughness 4 with a 3-inch move. He has a 1-inch range, 2 attacks, strength 6, 3/6 damage with his big giant cleaver. And then his special ability is the Grandfather's Gift. Roll a dice for each visible enemy fighter within 3 inches of this fighter. On a 3 to 4, allocate a damage point to the fighter being rolled for. On a 5-6, allocate a number of damage points to the fighter equal to the value of this ability. And then the Lord of Blights is 200 points. He's 35 wounds, toughness 5, because he's got a shield and a 3-inch move. 1-inch range, 3 attacks, strength 5, 2/5 damage. And then his double is the Thrice Ripened Death's Head. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 6 inches and roll 2 dice. For each 4, 5, 6. So for each 4 or 5, allocate a damage point. For each 6, allocate a number of damage points equal to this ability. And then the Stormcast Eternal's Warrior Chamber. So now it's interesting to note that the Vanguard aren't on here, right? They're not on here. There's no ally allegiance for the Vanguard for some reason. I'm just going to go back and double check because I looked at the remarks before. And this could very well just be an omission. It could have been an accident. Let's just hope it was an accident and that there's no allies for the Vanguard for some reason. Because there's the Vanguard rune mark, and it's nowhere in the allied matrix. Well, that sucks. I'm going to guess the Vanguard rune mark should be here, and that they can take allies. Otherwise, they're literally the only faction in the game right now that can't take allies. There's 9 factions listed here, and there should be 10. Because there was 10 new factions basically at the very beginning. I'm guessing that's just an omission. I'm going to play as if they can take them, because it would be really dumb that one faction for no reason was left out of the ally table. I'm just going to get a Sharpie. I'm just going to draw in their little lightning bolt. Okay, because it doesn't make sense that like you can ally with like the Daughters of Cain, but you can't show up with the Vanguard. So the Stormcast Eternal's Warrior Chamber. You get all kinds of dudes here. I'll go through their abilities as they pop up. So Lord Celestant, he is 205 points, 30 wounds, toughness 5, 4-inch move, 1-inch range, 5 attacks, strength 4, and 2/5 damage. His ability is the Warcloak Storm Magic. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 6 and roll 2 dice. For each 4 or 5, get a damage point. For each 6, the value of this ability. He has this like shooting warhammers out of his cloak still. The Lord Castellant is 210 points, 32 wounds, toughness 5 with a 4-inch move, 2-inch range with his big halberd, and he gets 2 attacks, strength 5, 3/6 damage. His ability is Warding Lantern. Until the end of the battle round, add 1 of the toughness characteristic of friendly fighters if they're within 6 inches of this fighter on a triple. Oh my god, you can double that down with the one that the Vanguard get. The Lord of Veritas is 190 points. He's got 32 wounds, toughness 5, and a 4-inch move. His little stabber is 1-inch range, 3 attacks, strength 4, 2/5 damage. The damage I put isn't crazy on these heroes. He has a Lantern of Abjuration. Until the end of the battle round, subtract 1 from the value of abilities used by enemy fighters within 9. I don't know if it's worth a triple, but it's kind of neat. The Knight Questor, 220 points, 30 wounds, toughness 6 because he has a shield, and then a 4-inch move. He is 1-inch range, 4 attacks, strength 4, 2/5 damage. He can do a Heroic Challenge. Add half the value of this ability, rounding up to the attack characteristic of the next attack action made by this fighter. That has a range characteristic of 3 or less that targets an enemy fighter with the leader rune mark or the ally rune mark. So basically, if someone's big enough to fight him, he gets all stabby and cool with this Heroic Challenge, but only against big guys. And then weirdly, you get the Knight Vexilar and the Knight Heralder. So the Vexilar is 30 wounds, toughness 5, 4-inch move. He's got a 1-inch range with 3 attacks, strength 4, doing 2/4 damage, and he gets the Tempest Winds until the end of the battle round. Add the value of this ability to the move characteristic of friendly fighters that start their activation within 12 inches of the fighter, so it makes you faster. And then the Knight Heralder is 195 points, 30 wounds, toughness 5, 4-inch move. He has 1-inch range with 4 attacks, strength 4, and 2/5 damage. And he can do the Battlehorn Thunderblast. Pick an visible enemy fighter within 12 inches of this fighter. That's on a platform. Roll 1 dice for that fighter and each other enemy fighter within 6 inches. On a 4+, allocate 3 damage points to the fighter being rolled for. And that's all your Stormcast. So then you got your Hag Queen for the Daughters of Cain. 130 points, 25 wounds, toughness 3 with a 5-inch move, 1-inch range with her stabber, her little Chris knife. 3 attacks, strength 4, 2/5 damage, and then her ability is Witch Brew. On a double, pick a visible enemy fighter within 3 inches, and until the end of the battle round, add the value of this ability to the strength characteristic of the next attack action with a range of 3 or less. And the Slaughter Queen, 25 wounds, toughness 3, 5-inch move. She's got a 1-inch range with 5 attacks, strength 4, 2/5 damage. And her ability is a quad, Orgy of Slaughter. Until the end of the battle round, add the value of the ability of the attack's characteristic. Sorry, add the value of this ability to the attack characteristic of attack actions that have a range characteristic of 3 or less, made by visible enemy fighters that are within 6 of this fighter. So she adds like a huge amount of attacks to people nearby. Then there's the Deepkin. The Tidecaster's 145 points, 25 wounds, movement 5, and a defensive 3. It has the same Sorcerer's Blast everybody else has, 3 to 7-inch range, 2 attacks, strength 3, 3/6 damage. And a staff with a 2-inch range, 3 attacks, strength 3, and 1/4 damage. Her spell is Riptide, just like in the main AOS game. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 12 until the end of the battle round. Subtract 1 from the attack characteristic of that attack actions made by that fighter. The Soul Render, 150 points, 25 wounds, toughness 3, and a 5-inch move. Has a big scythe that is 2-inch range, 4 attacks, strength 4, 2/5 damage, and then a bite from his fish. 3-inch range, 3 attacks at strength 4, 2/4 damage. He's pretty killy, actually. He's got 7 attacks total. And then his ability is Hangman's Knot. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 3 inches of this fighter until the end of the battle round. That fighter cannot make move or disengage actions on a double, which is pretty sweet. Because all of his stuff is at range, too. You could hold somebody in place and then just keep stabbing them. The Soul Scryer, 130 points, 25 wounds, move 5 and toughness 3. Has a 1-inch range stab with the little fishies. 3 attacks, strength 4, and 2/4 damage. And then a Shoal of Fish on a triple. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 10 inches of this fighter and roll 8 dice for each 3 to 5. Allocate 1 damage point for each 6 at a number of damage points equal to the value of this ability, because the fish go out and fight. And then everybody gets low tide on a double. A fighter can use this ability only in the first battle round. This fighter can make a bonus move action a number of inches equal to the value of this ability. We're on to death. It's the Night Haunts. So double. Sorry, well, actually, does anybody get that? No, everybody doesn't get the double in this one, so everything's unique. We'll go through it when we go through the guys. So first, the Knights of Shrouds. He is 225 points with 25 wounds, toughness 5. He's a big boy with a 6-inch move. He flies, and then he has a 1-inch range, strength 5, 5 attacks, strength 4, 2/5 damage. And his special ability is Stolen Hours on a double. At the end of this fighter's activation, heal a number of damage points allocated to this fighter equal to the number of damage points allocated to any fighter's activation. A Cairn Wraith for 220 points. He's 25 wounds, toughness 5, and 6-inch move. He flies as well. His big scythe has a 2-inch range. Is 4 attacks, strength 4, with doing 2/5 damage. And then his ability is Reaped Like Corn. Allocate number of damage points equal to the value of this ability to every fighter within 3. So enemy fighters. It's the same as the Glaive Wraith Stalkers. The Lord Executioner is 230 points, 25 wounds, toughness 5, 6-inch move, 1-inch range, 3 attacks, strength 5, 3/6 damage, and his ability is double staring the death in the face. Pick an enemy fighter with within a number of inches of this fighter equal to the value of the ability and roll a die on a 3+ until the end of the battle round. That fighter cannot make move or disengage actions. The Spirit Torment for 220 points, 25 wounds, toughness 5, 6-inch move, does not fly, interestingly. It's interesting, a lot of these heroes don't fly even though they're Night Haunts. I thought the Spirit Torment would. Has a 3-inch range, 4 attacks, strength 4, 2/5 damage, and its ability is Nagash's Bidding on a triple. Until the end of the battle round, add one of the strength characteristic of attack actions that have a range of 3 or less made by enemy fighters within 6 inches of this fighter. That is huge for the pillow-fisted Night Haunts. And then finally the Banshee, Tomb Banshee, 25 wounds, toughness 5, strength 6, movement 6. It has the same blast as all the other wizards, 3 to 7-inch range, 2 attacks, strength 3, 3/6 damage. And then has like I don't even know what this is. What is this symbol for? A bite maybe? A stab? A slap? 1-inch range, 3 attacks, strength 3, and 1/4 damage. And then her ability is a Frightful Touch. Until the end of this fighter's activation, count each hit from attack actions made by them that have a range of 3 or less as a critical hit instead. So 3 attacks, strength 3, but doing 4 damage per hit is pretty good. And then we got the Legions of Nagash. The Legions of Nagash are going to get a Sorcerer, a Lone Necromancer, and then a White King. The Necromancer is 170 points, 25 wounds, toughness 4, and a 4-inch move. Has the same Sorcerer's Blast, 3 to 7-inch range, 2 attacks, strength 3, 3/6 damage, and then a Staff at 2-inch range, strength 3, 3 attacks, strength 4, and 1/4 damage. And then the White King, 175 points, 25 wounds, toughness 4 with a 4-inch move, 1-inch range with his stabber, and goes 4 attacks, strength 4, and 2/5 damage. Now the wizard has 2 spells. He can do a Necrotic Siphon, pick another visible enemy fighter within 6 inches of this fighter, allocate a number of damage points to that fighter equal to the value of this ability, then remove a number of damage points from this fighter equal to double the value of this ability. That's pretty awesome. And then Van Hell's Dance Macabre, a number of visible enemy fighters equal to the value of this ability that are within 6 of this fighter can make a bonus move action or a bonus attack action. Some can make one and others make others. That's pretty good. And then Beheading Strike. Add the value of this ability to the damage points allocated to enemy fighters by hits or critical hits from the next attack action made by this fighter that's the range of 3 or less. So basically the Beheading Strike just ups his damage ability. And that's on a triple. Van Hell's Dance is on a quad, and the Necrotic Siphon's on a double. Finally, the Flesh Eater Courts, the Abhorrent Ghoul King. 185 points, 28 wounds, 5-inch move, toughness 4. Has a 1-inch range on his bites, 5 attacks, strength 4 with a 2/5 damage, and he has a triple Summon the Black Hunger. Until the end of the battle round, add one of the attack characteristic of attack actions of a range characteristic of 3 or less made by visible friendly fighters while they're within 3 inches of this fighter. So, +1 attack on a triple to everybody. It's pretty great. And we're into Destruction. The Iron Jaws get a Mega Boss for 255 points. Dude has 38 wounds. Toughness 5 with a 3-inch move, and then 1-inch range, 3 attacks, strength 6 with 4/8 damage. He's basically the Breacher, the Ogre Breacher. His ability is he's going to have the Mighty Wah. Add value of this ability to the move characteristic of friendly fighters within 9 until the end of the battle round. When they use this ability until the battle round. Okay, so it pulses out and then everybody gets it. And then you've got the War Chanter, 35 wounds, toughness 5, and 3-inch move, 1-inch range, 5 attack, strength 4, 2/5 damage. His ability is the War Chanter's Beat on a double. Until the end of the battle round, add one of the attack characteristic of attack actions made by friendly fighters while they're within 6 inches. And then the Weird Knob Shaman, 185 points, 35 wounds, toughness 4 though. He's not as tough. And then movement 3. Again, it's the same source blast, 3 to 7-inch range, 2 attacks, strength 3, 3/6 damage. And then a staff at 2-inch range, 3 attacks, strength 4, 1/4 damage. And he gets the Foot of Gork on a triple. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 12 and roll a number of dice equal to the value of his ability. On a 2 to 3, allocate 1 damage point. On a 6, allocate 3. And then the Bone Splitter's got a Savage Orc Big Boss for 195 points. Oh, sorry. I should mention that you all have access to charge as well for the Iron Jaws. On a double, it's the same as the one that the regular Iron Jaws get. The Savage Orc Big Boss for 195 points. He is 30 wounds, toughness 4, and a 4-inch move. 1-inch range, 3 attacks, strength 5, 3/6 damage. He gets charge as well as a double. And then Quad Mighty Wah, add the move value, same thing as the Iron Jaws get. Gloom Spike gets, holy moly, this is a lot of dudes. Okay, so you get the Fungoid Cave Shaman. He doesn't have any melee attack. He's just too high. He can't be bothered. He has 20 wounds, toughness 4 with a 4-inch move. He gets a 3/7 blast with 2 attacks, strength 3, and a 3/6 damage. His mage ability is a Magic Spore Mod on a triple. Roll a dice for each visible enemy fighter within 3 of this fighter. On a 3 to 4, allocate a damage point. On a 5/6, allocate a number of damage points equal to the value of this ability. So, yeah, if you get a 6/6, 5/6 is doing 6 damage. You don't really want to get near that guy, even though he doesn't fight in melee. The Boggle for 85 points, 12 wounds, toughness 4, and a 4-inch move. He has a 2-inch melee attack at 3 attacks, strength 3, 1/4 damage. And then his ability is a Mesmerize on a double. Pick an enemy fighter within a number of inches of this fighter equal to the value of this ability and roll a die. On a 3+ until the end of the battle round, they cannot move or make a disengage because he mesmerizes them. The Scaremonger with his Ooga Booga Mask has 90 points, 20 wounds, toughness 4 with a 4-inch move. And then he has a Bite, which is 1-inch range, 4 attacks, 3 strength, and 1/4 damage. His ability is triple the Boogeyman Dance. Pick another visible enemy fighter within 6 inches until the end of the battle round. Add half the value of this ability, rounding up to the move characteristic of that fighter. So he boogies the goblins and makes them run faster because he scares the crap out of them. That makes me laugh. The Shrewmancer, 85 points, 12 wounds, toughness 4, and a 4-inch move. Is 2-inch range with the staff, 3 attack, strength 3, 1/4 damage. His ability is a fungoid cloud on a triple. Pick an enemy fighter within a number of inches of this fighter equal to the value of this ability. Until the end of the battle round, subtract the value of this ability from the attack characteristics of attack actions made by that fighter. Makes them bad at hitting. To a minimum of 1. The Brugit is 85 points, 12 wounds, toughness 4, 4-inch move. Has a little stabber with a 1-inch range, 4 attacks, strength 3, 1/3. His ability is a double Loonshine Potion for a double. Pick another visible friendly fighter within 3 inches of this fighter until the end of the battle round. Add half the value of this ability rounding up to the attack characteristic of the next attack made by that fighter with a range of 3 or less. So he juices people up. The Spica, 85 points, 12 wounds, toughness 4, 4-inch move. 2-inch range with his staff, 3 attacks, strength 3, and 1/4 damage. Ability is Poison Brew as well. Poison Brew, that's right, different from Moonshine Potion. Pick another visible and friendly fighter within 3 inches of this fighter until the end of the battle round. Add the value of this ability to the strength characteristic of that next attack action made by that fighter with a strength, a range of 3 or less. So he juices somebody up. And the Loon Boss, 140 points, 20 wounds, toughness 4, and a 4-inch move. Has a big glaive, 2-inch range, 4 attack, strength 4, and 2/4 damage. And his ability is Quad. I'm the boss now, stabbing good, same as the goblins already have. So until the end of this battle round, add the value of this ability to the attack action made by range characteristic 3 or less, made by friendly fighters within 6. And that's it. New Warband roster sheet. It's got spots for your dominant territories, glory points, your campaign progress, all your destiny stuff, and then your challenge battles, so you can check them off. And then this side gives you your favorite warrior, also your monster if you have a monster here, your allies if you have allies, and then a whole bunch of your regular fighters and stuff. So handy. Hopefully this will be available for download as a PDF so we can just print them off without having to photocopy our books. And that's it. Warcry, Monsters and Mercenaries adds a real big chunk of new stuff to the game. It's interesting that the MMO feel of the challenge battles, the raids, the going and collecting monsters adds a lot of new stuff to do for the campaign games. I think this will be great as like participation stuff in stores. I do think Warcry is probably going to be at its best as like a store event or one of those things where like you run a league or an in-game thing. And this just adds more stuff to do, which I like. I like the open-ended quests instead of having to do like specific quests for every faction over and over again. Having some open-ended ones people can do, that anyone can do to claim prizes. And the prizes are different every time you do them, so you don't unlock the same stuff. Just adds value to playing more games. And then being able to do side quests to go and find rewards, fight the Everchosen, and getting a little sneak peek at a Warband in here too, because I think the Everchosen Warband or maybe the Slaves to Darkness are going to be one of the new ones. Because if I look at the faction remarks again, just double check. Everchosen is in here, see, as like an actual faction remark now. So with Beasts of Chaos, Everchosen, and the Stormcast Warrior Chamber in here, we've jumped up to 12 factions. And that should give us a bunch of new stuff to play with, hopefully going forward, which I think is going to be great. Lots of cool new things to do, and that's going to be hopefully coming out when we see those last 2 warbands in the future that haven't come out from the core initial 8 that are in the star set as well. So definitely worth picking up. It's got lots of stuff for every faction, and then if you just have a deep collection of like AOS heroes and monsters and stuff, just lots of ways to get more stuff on the table. So thanks for checking this out. We'll see you for more Warcry in the future. You can check out a battle report today between Mike's from Architect Studios' Savage Beasts and my Iron Golems as we throw down some of the new heroes. So go check it out. It's up in the cards up here. Until next time, I'm Ash. Happy bargaining. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to support the channel, of course, like and subscribe and hit the little bell below so you get notifications when I post future content. I do post stuff 7 days a week. If you want to support the channel further, you can, of course, buy a t-shirt through Spreadshirts, buy a measuring gauge or objective markers from Death Ray Designs, or, of course, most importantly, there is Patreon. Patreon is what makes all this possible, keeps the lights on, pays for the studio costs, pays for the equipment, model costs, and everything else, and most importantly, puts food in my kids' bellies and a roof over their heads. Big thanks to everyone, past, future, who supported me. I do this stuff because of you guys, and of course, I will continue doing it as long as I can.